Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Today I'm going to talk about the one-way civil war that is ongoing and how the right is being hunted in daylight, in broad daylight. That's what's going on. I just got this text before I went on live here. It was just on Newsmax TV. It's hard to believe what I just said. Zoran Mamdani's intern, Arzu Malik, is calling for holy war through jihad and martyrdom. This man, Mamdi, the Islamist, the front man for the Muslim Brotherhood, is about to become the mayor of the largest city in the United States of America. You say, how did this madness occur? There's a lot of reasons for it. How did they kill Charlie Kirk? Now, I know there's a lot of doubt about the single shooter. Did he work alone? And I don't want to talk about that today. Charlie Kirk is dead. All we know is that a young, conservative Christian leader who dedicated his life to restoring faith and meaning to American life, who opposed everything that the radical left and Islamists stand for, is dead. That's all you have to know. Dead is dead. So you say, well, how did we get here? It's almost irrelevant how we got here. We are here. Now, I'm going to be a little discursive today. I don't have a single theme. I have several themes, and they're all interrelated. And so I'm going to move them all at the same time. I'll move all of these ideas at the same time. Charlie Kirk, young Christian leader, dedicated his life to restoring faith and meaning to American life. He was a good man. He was a moderate, by the way. Charlie Kirk was about as moderate a conservative as you are going to find. And he was assassinated. Now think about that. He was not a flaming right-winger at all. He believed in God. He believed in family. He believed in America. And for that, he was killed. Who killed him? To the scumbags on the left, the vermin, and I'll call them what they are, the vermin, the rats, the filth. Anyone who loves America is a fascist. Now, I'll define what fascism is. I've done it before, and I have to do it over and over again. It's a simple word. It has a derivation if you study the etymology of words. Fascism derives from the word fascio, meaning stick, which was used by the ancient Roman soldiers to control crowds, sticks. So the left are the fascists of today. They're the ones who attack. And we on the right are sitting here like putzes and patsies taking it. Charlie's dead. Just remember what I just said to you. Don't turn the other cheek. Don't turn the other cheek, or you'll be the next one who's dead. They are so far into this society. Very, very deep. And as I speak with you today, something odd is going on in England. The actual English people have stood up to the fascism of the socialist left in England with a 1 million-person march going on in downtown London. And their opponents are about 100,000 Muslims and communists calling them, stop the fascists. Get it? To the Muslim, to the leftist, communist, socialist, makes no difference. Anyone who opposes the communist way is a fascist or a Nazi. Nothing more than that. So the next time screaming fascism, you'll know who the fascist is. Now, we'll go to Hitler for a moment since we have to, and the youth in America. Yeah, you want me to talk about England? I'm kind of an expert on England. Kind of an expert on England. I'm the only American member of the media who's not permitted to go to England because I was banned for speech in England. I'm the only one. Canceled by the entire British government. I wrote a book about it. I spent $400,000 trying to get my name off the list, and I couldn't get my name off the list. I still can't go there. Why was I put on the list? Well, at the time, there was a prime minister named Gordon Brown. Gordon Brown we did discovery through the lawsuit that I brought. We found emails and letters where it was explained why I was targeted. He said we must balance the list. They had real murderers and threats to the United Kingdom in the Islamic community, and they put them on the banned list. They wouldn't let them in. And they also put Russian skinheads on who would kill people in the streets of Russia. Why the hell did they pick an American talk show host? I was no threat to them. He said we have to balance the list. What he meant was because I am Jewish, he needed to balance the list. So I was the sacrificial individual. That's why I was targeted by Gordon Brown. I was the enemy of globalism. And they didn't want that in England. They didn't want anyone to hear the message of no globalism. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you how it is. It's a badge of honor right now to be banned in England. I found the secret emails that disclose how the British government colluded to destroy a man's name and reputation. I was then invited to speak at the Cambridge Union, and then they canceled the speech at the last minute. Have you seen who's now the head of the Cambridge Union? Some African communist with dreadlocks. It's astounding. England's been taken over. The Tommy Robinsons have been put in jail. But getting back to our country today, Hitler had the Hitler Youth. Now pay close attention. It's going to spike up on YouTube. These 5 things here. Hitler had the Hitler Youth. The Russian communists had the Young Pioneers. Pol Pot in Cambodia had the Red Scarves, the Khmer Rouge. The German communists had the Red Brigades. And we have the Rainbow Red-Green Brigades. For want of a better term, I don't have it. A single word doesn't exist. The Rainbow Red-Green Brigades are activated in America, or the brown shorts, if you want to call them that. You call them the brown shorts, it works for. We're in a one-way civil war, and the right is being hunted and dead. You could go back to the loss of faith. Once God was kicked out of the marketplace of ideas, and the atheists came in like the bed bugs they are, they infested the entire hotel. Because without God, without morality, without the Big Ten, anything goes. And when anything goes, everything goes. Why not do it in the road? If it feels good, do it. Well, here you go. From the 60s to now, here we are. How many years is that? 60 years later. I lived through the 60s. I watched it evolve. I enjoyed myself. I had no idea how bad it really was. The cultural breakdown, now compounded by technology and narcissism. The iPhone has now made everyone into a star behind their bars. Everyone can now be let's see, I wrote this last night, actually. Josh Klein from Breitbart wrote this great article. You have to go on Breitbart and read it. I'm not going to read my own article. And it's on Kirk's assassination. And I say this is a one-way civil war and the right is being hunted in daylight. And I said that everyone is a star behind their bars. What does that mean? Everyone with a phone can now be a writer, producer, director, actor, and give themselves an Academy Award. So if you have nose rings and you live in your mother's basement and you don't work for a living, you can hate fascists on the iPhone and you can get really mad and scream. I saw one of them yesterday, a freak of the freaks. A girl who identified as a boy with triple nose rings and earrings. She was ringing like a reindeer on a sleigh. And she was so stupid, but I said, there's a lot of them around. So when you see these ugly ones walking the streets, walk around them. They're like the lepers of our time, the mental lepers of our time. Do not engage with a leper. That's I'll tell you right now. Someone has written a long time ago that hell is a place where there is no reason. If you try to debate with a leper, you're going to wind up with leprosy. If you lay down with the lousy, you're going to get lice. If you try to debate with the nose rings, you're going to wind up in hell because they don't reason. They have no Aristotelian logic and no capacity for reason. They don't even understand what reason is. So be careful out there. I know I've doubled my surveillance. I've always, people say, oh, now you have to be careful. Oh, really? Uh, when I began a radio, I mean, I saw hatred I had never seen in my life. I was always political since I'm 18 years old, but I was not in the public eye until 1994 when I went on radio. And then I received death threats and hatred like I didn't know it existed. I told you today would be all over the map a little bit, so bear with me. This is not going to be in one sphere, in one plane. It's going to be many spheres in several planes. I'll bring you back to 1994. I was basically a nutritionist, a herbal medicine guy, a writer of health books, and I've been political in a way since I was 18 years old, but not really active politically. I wasn't involved in any organizations, not Republican, not Democrat. I had been radicalized prior to that by affirmative action, which stole my birthright. They stole my birthright and gave it to morons, idiots, dummies, in order to balance their list. And take a look at the universities today. Take a look who's running the universities today. Because any man like me was immediately barred from the universities. So who took over? The very same. The very same. So I hit a dead end in my life. I told you about the story that I screamed out, I yelled to God one night. I couldn't get a job because of affirmative action. I killed myself, an immigrant son. I'm going to tell you the story. I kept hearing from my professors, well, if you get the PhD, it's your union card. You'll get your teaching position. All I wanted to do was be a teacher. That's all I wanted to be. So I didn't just get a PhD. I earned 2 master's degrees. One was published as a book. I got a PhD published as a book. I did it to the nth degree. Applied to 80 universities. They all said, drop dead, go away. We don't, man. This is in the 90s. I became mentally angry. I had a young family. I wanted to do. I prayed to God. I went out on my deck. I can remember it to this day. It was in a valley here in Marin County, California. And I screamed from the bottom of my heart to God. I said, God, please. I did it loudly. It ricocheted off the valley back and forth. I said, God, please give me a living. I didn't ask for a fortune. I didn't ask to win the lottery. I didn't ask for a handout. I didn't ask to hurt anybody. I said, give me a living. Shortly thereafter, I got the addresses of 500 radio stations in America through someone I had met along the way. He was a very powerful attorney, a liberal, by the way, who owned radio stations. And I said, I'd like to mail him a demo tape to stations. And he gave me the list. I mailed it to 500 stations. I heard from 4, and I took a job at one here in San Francisco. At the time, it was KGO. I filled in that night for a diehard left-wing fanatic. I didn't even know the guy. I never listened to him. I'm not up in the middle of the night. They said, you'll fill in tonight from midnight to 5 a.m. I said, all right, what fun I'll have. I'll go on the radio. I go on the radio, and all I did was say that affirmative action is evil because it takes the birthright away from people and gives jobs to people who don't deserve it. Well, I got such hatred coming back from Oakland, California, from where all of the minorities seem to assemble. Take a look at Oakland today. Look at the hell they've created for themselves. It's a war zone. I got such hatred that I drove home in my little car to my wife and kids at dawn, and I kept looking in my rearview mirror. I thought I was being followed. And I went home, and that morning when the kids got up, sitting around the table, I said, I'm never going to be in radio. I will never do this again. The hatred is overwhelming. I can't take it. I thought it was over. An hour later, the phone rings. Michael, you were incredible. I'd like to come back. I said, I'll never go back on that show. I'm not doing it. So the program director said to me, well, okay, how about if we do another show? I said, I don't think I want to do talk radio. It's too full of hatred. The left wing is so full of violence and hatred. So anyway, I filled in for afternoon hosts. one thing led to the other, got my own show, and blah, 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 became syndicated, became a big phenomenon. And now it's in my rearview mirror. Radio's in my rearview mirror. There it is. It's there. It's in my past. Bye-bye radio. And I transitioned into podcasting. And then I'm on television, on News TV, and I do these things. And this is the twilight of my career, in plain English. I'm not here seeking an Academy Award. I'm not looking to go anywhere from here. This is it. This is the last stop on my train. And I'll continue to do what I've been doing since I started in radio, which is say it like it is. This is what I actually believe. Now, whether you agree with me or not is actually not my problem. It's your problem. It's what you believe. That's all. She's listened to me. I'm a million people now. Everyone with a phone is giving an eye. Everyone with a phone is now a talk show host, a star. So who do you believe? Believe yourself, number one. But how do you know what to believe? You need an internal compass. First of all, you need an internal compass. You need to know north from south and east from west, or else you're lost. So what is this compass? It's one that has worked for thousands of years. I'll make it simple. Start with the 10 Commandments. It's an easy one. We don't live up to them every day, but at least you know what north, south, east, and west looks like, and you know where the poles are. The Big Ten. It goes for all people, all creeds, and all religions. It doesn't matter what your religion is. The 10 Commandments work for all religions. They could even work for atheists, by the way, incidentally. They could just take out the first one. There shall be another God before me. But aside from that, the other 9 would work even for an atheist or an agnostic. So I don't have to lose you just because you're maybe an atheist or agnostic. I met some very nice atheists in my life. And I met some very bad religious people in my life. So, just because where's the religious garb doesn't mean that they're good people. We don't have to tell you about that, do we? All the world's a stage. All the world's a stage, and we are merely actors on it. Now, I realize the average attention span is 11 seconds. I've lost probably most of my listeners right now. This is not for kids, people under a certain age. They have 11 seconds span. They're just searching today. They see a guy in a blue shirt and a weird hat with posters behind them, and they tuned in and they left me after 11 seconds. So what I'm saying to you is if you're still with me, it's because you want to hear what I have to say, and I really am just warming up. I have a long way to go yet. I may not do this in one shot. I may do it in 2. But this is part 1 of the show. And the title, again, is A One-Way Civil War, and the right is being hunted in broad daylight. That's the theme. So as I said earlier, when I got distracted, you can read the whole article on Breitbart.com. It's linked on my X channel, which you're watching now, or Facebook, or it's not on YouTube. Fetish of death, loss of spiritual grounding. Something is broken in the West. Loss of religion or values of a higher purpose. Charlie Kirk saw that and was trying to fight it. The cultural breakdown, technology narcissism. Everyone's a star behind their bars. You have 4 bars. You could be a movie star, actor, director, writer, and you give yourself an Academy Award. As I said to you earlier, Einstein were alive today, he'd go on YouTube to explain his theory of relativity, and some schmuck, an illiterate moron, would say, "You're just a Zionist Jew. You don't know what you're talking about." That's what would pass for dialogue today. So that's where I say, in our society, truth is gone. Schools no longer teach logic or critical thinking. Scientific method, no one ever heard of it. Do you know how hard it is to train your mind to think logically and rationally? That's what formal education is supposed to have done, and then expose you to a multitude of ideas. That's why I'm so highly educated. I wanted to learn as much as I could about the world. I'm a very curious person. I have been since I'm a child. So I earned not 2 degrees, but 3 higher degrees. And they mean each one of them means something to me. I worked very hard for them. And they were first class degrees. 2 of them wound up as books, very distinguished and important at the time. Means nothing today. Not with this. Anyone with 3 nose rings, 2 earrings, and a twisted soul can say a thing and they think that they're equal to Albert Einstein. But I'm trained in Aristotelian logic. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. I may not have told this one before about logic and scientific method. I don't think I told this particular story. It's a real story. It's a story. This particular chapter or phase of my life. I had gone to Europe on a trip, a fun trip with my friend before, but right after college for a summer. And we went on the V Waterman, the motor vessel Waterman. It was an old troop carrier from World War II, still floating around in the 60s. It's a cheap way to Europe. We partied all day. We partied all night and we slept all day. And we had a good time, an all-around good time. Yeah, I went to Paris, London, did the whole thing, had my fun. What are boys looking for wherever they go? Had my fun and came home, and I was like a little deranged from the trip. I grew my hair long. I don't even remember the year. I have a picture of me coming off the SS Mostam with a big suitcase. Uh, Big suitcase. So I get off the Mostam, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and she saw me and she cried. She broke into tears. I have no idea why. She was a nice kid. She's a nice person. But I grew my hair long. She must have seen something, but she knew it was over because I was a different person. But I was lost. I didn't know which way to, turn. So I enrolled in a graduate course. I had already had my bachelor's degree from Queens College, City University of New York. I enrolled in one course in logic and scientific method at the City University of New York. And it was a course where they taught Plato in mathematical formulae. Translated Plato's Republic into mathematical formulae, and then you had to read and write it in mathematics. And they taught me how to think logically. Is it lost? Does anyone know what the hell I'm talking about? I mean, I'm not trying to speak over you. I'm not trying to show how smart I am. I'm trying to tell you something here. If I watch sports, I tell you something else. I don't like sports. How many times I said, it's for people with the hats on backwards. You think I don't recognize what great talent it takes to be a great sports person? I do. That's not my strength. And so I'm not that interested in it. I appreciate a guy who can jump in the air like a superhuman and catch a ball 10 feet in the air and not fall on his foot and break and run with it. I appreciate a martial artist who can break the other guy's hand and make him quit before he breaks the hand. That overwhelming internal power. I love to watch martial arts videos and see the way the most slender martial artist can be so powerful in directing the inner chi energy and use the force, something I've used in broadcasting and I use to this day. People do not know I do breathing exercises before I even broadcast. I mean, if you were to see me before I broadcast, I'm using a form of Tai Chi to even broadcast. How the hell do you do this at age 83? Why aren't you in a bedroom somewhere in a wheelchair eating your oatmeal? Well, I may be in a bedroom eating oatmeal as soon as the show is over, but I'm not there now. I ran yesterday. I was on from 5 a.m. I was working after Charlie's death to 5 p.m. I gave the Breitbart interview at 5 p.m. I didn't leave the house. I cooked leftovers. And I got up at 5 a.m. today to do the Newsmax TV show. And now I'm doing this. And what did I do to get this energy? First of all, I have faith in God, and I believe God has kept me alive specifically to spread his word and to do his deeds as best I can, as flawed as I am. Do I hit the mark every time? No. But I hit the mark more than I miss the mark. But before I broadcast, I do a breathing exercise that no one sees. I go like this, and I do it repeatedly. In, out, in, out. It's a Tai Chi move that I studied and learned. I don't have to beat someone up to study a technique for breathing. So now we get back to what I'm talking about. MAGA is on the receiving end of the Civil War, to make it very simple. The death worshippers are out to get you. They have silenced you at work. Before Musk took over X, Dorsey had silenced you on X. I remember the shadow banning, the shadow blocking. I do remember it. It was horrible to live under Dorsey's X. It was the greatest liberation for this world when Musk took over Twitter and made it into X. The greatest liberation for a single man. Open up the doors of freedom of speech the way Musk has done. Never. Great man. He's one of our greatest. Thrown out by the Trump administration for wanting to balance the budget. Actually, not even balance it, just tighten the belt a little bit, cut out the pork barrel spending. But that's a topic for another day. So this completes part one of the one-way civil war. I have been with you for 26 minutes. So we're going to take a music break. Play music in your head. If we're on radio now, I'd play some rock and roll for you. But you have to have a license to do that, or else you have to pay royalties. I don't even know which one I would play. And I'm going to come back with part two in about 30 seconds. Okay. See, everyone's a star behind their bars. I don't know what's going on here. Exclusive. Michael Savage on Kirk's assassination. This is a one-way civil war, and the right is being hunted in daylight. I don't know what's going on. That's on? I guess one of my wonderful producers just put it on X. The Newsmax. I mean, the Breitbart article. Okay, now let's go to the thing that I wanted to say last night in some detail and didn't. I highly recommend you read the Breitbart article on Kirk's assassination. Now, before I do what I'm going to do next, I want to tell you something. The YouTube I did the other day, where I said something is not right about the FBI news conference, has received over 1 million impressions, which is the largest response I've ever had in all my years of performance on any channel. I don't remember the exact title, but my X show is, I want to read the exact title. I just got a note from Karen that Bannon and Candace Owens shared your video. And they said, watch Savage, we're not being told the truth. And that was my video of, I don't remember which one it was. It was something about something's not right about the FBI news conference. And it was about the first news conference. Thanks, Steve, and thanks, Candace. I don't know these folks personally. I met Steve once. I never met Candace. I know she's controversial. I know Steve's controversial. I know I'm controversial. I know Trump's controversial. And of course, the most controversial figure in the world is Jesus Christ. To the left, that is. So as I started to say to you, MAGAites, non-MAGAites, atheists, God lovers, Jesus lovers, Moses lovers, Abraham lovers, I even have Muslims who like me. They themselves are terrified of the radical Muslim brotherhood. Hitler had the Hitler Youth. The Russian communists had the Young Pioneers. Pol Pot in Cambodia had the Red Scarves or the Khmer Rouge and the millions of their fellow Cambodians. The German communists had the Red Brigades. And we have rainbow red-green brigades right now operating in America. Some of them actually wear a uniform. The nose rings, the earring, the hate eyes. So where do we go from here? I'm not a fortune teller, but I want to tell you that one of the progenitors of all of this hatred in America, one of the worst of all, perhaps the most evil man in the history of America is still alive. His name is Bernie Sanders. And I'll stand by those words. I really don't care what anyone says to me. He is the godfather of a thing called democratic socialism. And he brainwashed millions of very naive and impressionable young idiots into believing that they could get away with their socialism by calling it democratic socialism. Read the history of the Soviet Communist movement. There's no such thing as democratic socialism. I've studied communism since I'm 17 or 18 years old. I read Marx, I read Engels, I read some of the other thinkers in the original Soviet era. And I believe it was Marx who wrote this. The Communist Party I'm reading now from a book I wrote a few years ago, The Savage Republic. I'm referencing a book I wrote, pardon me for showing it. People get mad if I show my own book. Well, it's from my own book. And it said, the party had a social democrat wing prior to the violent revolution of 1917, after which they called it the Communist Party. Trotsky was originally a social democrat. After the Communist Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, was successful, Trotsky was put in charge of the military wing of the Communist Party and oversaw the killing of millions of fellow Russians for being counter-revolutionaries. That's exactly what Mamdi, Occasional Cortex, the hateful squad, whether they wear turbans or not, that's who they are. That's who they are. Bernie Sanders poisoned the minds of millions of them into thinking that there's a thing called democratic socialism. Oh, we could be like Norway. No, it's not like Norway. It was the road to perdition. Road to perdition. The Trotskyite Sanders has 3 homes. He calls himself a democratic socialist. No such thing. They're all enemies of the people. And I will remind you that men died in Korea and Vietnam. That's what the Korean and Vietnam wars were about, to stop communism. They were actually fighting and dying in Korea and Vietnam to stop men like Bernie Sanders, who was like a cadre. One of the leaders of a cadre in Vietnam would have been Bernie Sanders. Now we have a naked Trotskyite who ran for the presidency twice and engineered the worst political movement in American history. How could a man like Bernie Sanders, who would have been considered a seditious enemy of the state not that long ago, how is it possible that he became a leader of the young and a contender for the presidency? Remember, I'll remind you again, men died in Vietnam and Korea to stop communism from spreading in those nations. And now we see a naked Trotskyite, Bernie Sanders, who might very well have become the Democratic nominee twice if the party machine didn't do to him what it later did to Trump. As you know, Stalin also said those who vote decide nothing, those who count the vote decide everything. The Democrat Party did not want Bernie Sanders in the White House, but it likes him out there pushing the Overton window on communism. And because of the complicit vermin and uneducated adults in the media, people don't even know what Bernie Sanders is espousing when he says, democratic socialism, on a seltzer truck, tuna fish stain on his coat, simple old me. He's espousing naked communism, which led to the death of millions of people. This is the true nature of democratic socialism. It's the moderate sounding packaging for communism. If you listen to the hateful mouth of Occasional Cortex, you call her something else. You call her AOC. I knew right away when you started using that acronym, you were in trouble. You took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. How does an unknown skank like her from the Bronx suddenly have AOC attached to her name, this skank bartender? Because the left is very powerful. They own the media. So they take this skank nobody who grew up in a middle-class home in Westchester and call herself a kid from the hood. I call her occasional cortex because her brain works part-time. She's one of the most racist people I've ever heard speak in Congress. Occasional cortex, AOC, her hatred for white people literally falls off her ruby-colored lips. And then you have the ungrateful Ilhan Omar, who should be deported to Somalia for marrying a brother and conning America with their hatred. We need to bring back the Sedition Act. We need a new UAC. We need a new UAC. And Donald Trump, I volunteer. I want to be the chairman of the new House of Un-American Activities Committee. Appoint me. I'll do it for $1 a year. HUAC is what we need. I've been studying Marx, Engels, and Lenin since I've been 18 years old. I've read all of them. I read some of the most obscure Bolsheviks that people could ever imagine. If you go to Google and search socialism or communism, the definitions have been changed so much that college students don't know the difference. They say, we're not communists. We're just democratic socialists like in Norway or Sweden. Well, things have changed in 2 years. They're now proudly communists, by the way. That's how this Muslim Brotherhood stealth terrorist could run for the mayorship in New York and looks like he's going to win. I went through all of this. I saw all of this. I went to the source of all of this because the man that I'm really getting to talk about was the biggest mass murderer of the last century. It was not Hitler. It was not Stalin. It was Mao Zedong, who Nixon, by the way, befriended. And he wrote this little red book, which was very popular in San Francisco. I have it here somewhere in the 70s. All the cool little commies were walking around with the little red book. What did Mao have to say about socialism and communism? Mao Zedong, the mass murderer who killed 30 million of his fellow Chinese, said that they are one and the same, socialism and communism. Never mind what the Squad or Anderson Cooper says with a wink and a nod, that pervert. Never mind what occasional cortex says. Never mind what MSNBC and the snide lesbians say. Mao Zedong wrote in his Chinese Revolutionary Movement, the Communist Party embraced the two stages of revolution, the democratic and the socialist revolutions. He said that they are different revolutionary processes but lead to the same thing. Mao Zedong wrote this, quote, it's really important. I mean, I dug this up. The democratic revolution is the democratic revolution is the necessary preparation for the socialist revolution. And the socialist revolution is the inevitable sequel to the democratic revolution. The ultimate aim for which all communists strive is to bring about a socialist and communist society, end quote. Mao makes no distinction between democratic socialism and communism. What Mao says is that the first stage is a democratic revolution. Ultimately, though, he wanted a completely communist society. This is what Bernie Sanders is working for. This is what occasional cortex is working for. What ill-brained Omar is working for. And this is what that suave Muslim Brotherhood frontman running for the mayorship is working for. I called him the coiffured commie. Charming young Muslim, isn't he? Have you actually listened to what he has to say? Now, who funded them? Now we get to the heart of the matter, because you've got to follow the money. You always got to follow the money. And I'm not going to sit here and complain, because Trump has the power, by the way, to stop this. He's just got to put up with the political heat. And he's probably going to do it. He says, I keep seeing he's repeating something I put out now for months and months and months, that he's going to pursue RICO charges against Soros. He's saying he's considering it, excuse me. He probably won't do it. His temperate advisors within, who have blocked me from access to the president, even though I know he reads a lot of my stuff because I hear a lot of my things being stated publicly. Yeah, okay. Well, let's leave it at that. I don't want to talk about that. But Trump has the power to bring back, with the force of government, HUAC, House of Un-American Activities Committee, and investigate them. Find out where their money came from, who they are. They're doing that now. It's starting to rumble about it in the Republican Congress, the halls of Congress. We're going to get to the bottom of the funding of the radical left. Oh, hello, that was 20 years ago. I wrote it in my book 25 years ago. What, you still looking into it? And what are you going to look into it for? Bust them, man, and you can bust them under RICO. Not just George Soros and his son and those around him. That RICO should go at the head of the snake, the ACLU, which I've been preaching for about 30 years now. The head of the snake is the ACLU, the lawyers. The lawyers. It's the lawyers, boys and girls. It's the lawyers. It's the lawyers, the lawyers, the lawyers. And so even back then, Michael Savage wrote, "Saving America from the liberal assault on our schools, faith, and military, the enemy within." Good picture of me. I know where that was taken. Great picture. It's like watching a part of my past. But what I called for then was breaking the ACLU under RICO. And I said, if you don't act, who will? If you don't act now, then when? If not this issue, then what will it take? This is very prescient with the killing of Kirk. If you don't act, who will? If you don't act now, then when? If not this issue, then what will it take? I'm telling you that unless Trump drops a ton of bricks on the ACLU, nothing's going to change because they are the head of the snake. You got to cut the head off to stop the snake from slithering. They're the ones who bring all the lawsuits. I'm not very emotional about it. I'm very clinical about it. They have to be broken. They're the ones who sue to make sure that perversion can be taught in our schools. I said that our courts are ruled by red diaper doper babies. I said unborn babies are being slaughtered and their body parts sold by Planned Parenthood. I said illegal alien courted by politicians. This was in 2003. I said the liberal media undermines both police and military. The fight over the public display of the Ten Commandments is a defining moment in history. I want to pause on that for a minute. Why would the left have fought so hard back when I began to take down Ten Commandments monuments all over the country, with lawsuits brought by the vermin, the left-wing perverts, the communists in the ACLU with law degrees? Law degrees. Why? And I asked, why are Muslims the only group of believers granted a pass by the religion-hating left? Well, because they were building a red-green alliance. They were going to use the violent Muslims as their shock troops, along with Black Lives Matter, which came along later. See how that works? The intellectuals behind the Marxist revolution, the Maoist revolution to be specific, have used the blacks and have used the Muslim Brotherhood and the lesbian feminists, the nose ring jobs. They use them as their shock troops to batter everyone and put us in our place and keep us shut up, to shut us down. He may be brash, he may be brazen, but he's absolutely right on target. So open up for another dose of the savage truth. So what's the good of me telling you that I saw this coming? Why am I repeating this now? What am I looking for? A halo? Another halo? What do I want to achieve with you today is the question. After Charlie Kirk's murder, I'm telling you, you need to act. And that means you have to insist Donald Trump create a new HUAC, House of Un-American Activities Committee, and tear the scab off all of them. He started to do this. I give Trump 100 on the culture wars, 100. He's tearing the universities open and showing you you pick up and you see them scurrying. How did this happen? That great universities like Harvard have descended into these cesspools My father-in-law, rest in peace, farm boy from Indiana, football team, U.S. Navy, almost lost his life on a U.S. destroyer in the Mediterranean, came home shattered from World War II. Harvard Law. Harvard Law, you know how hard it was to get into Harvard in those days? You didn't see the coalition that you see there now. It looks like a street in downtown Oakland. The outfits they wear, the haircuts, the nose rings, the stench of the marijuana. I'm going to Harvard. I'm going to Harvard. I'm studying feminist reactionary therapies upon the constitutional republic. Harvard. So another guy I wrote, I knew years ago, I knew this guy. I mean, I knew this guy in 2001. Now he's only a shadow of his former self. And I knew this guy in 2013, The Coming Civil War. Now, of course, the title was, see, it's like a pop-up book. This was the real title. Publisher said it's too hot for you. So I put stop in front of it. It did very well. I'm not asking you to buy the book. It's not even for sale. Please. You know, it's the jealous people say, we're showing a book. I've written 28 books. Wanting me to hide it? These are my medallions. This is like, think of me as a soldier with medals. So think of them. I'm just showing you a medal because you have to understand I'm making a message here. You can't even buy these books. The Coming Civil War. Michael Savage makes his case for changing the current government on every page of Stop the Coming Civil War as he lays bare the liberal left-wing policies that eat away at the principles patriots hold most dear. I am sure that every older person, every younger person in this country who's a conservative has read one of my books or heard one of my broadcasts at some time in the last 30 years. I'm sure of it. So I'm now with you for 47 minutes, which is enough. Video. Wow. Something's going on. The one about the FBI not telling us the truth is the one that went viral. This is too intellectual. This is very detailed. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is an absolute reality theory that I'm giving you. I mean, some unanswered questions about the shooting, the roommate, the gun, you know, there all sorts of stuff about the rifle. Are you joking? Do you realize if you were hit with a 30-06 from 200 yards, what it would have done to Charlie's body? It would have blown him back out of the chair. Just start with basic ballistics and the force of that bullet. Want me to hold one up for you? I'm not going to do it. I'll be banned from YouTube. There's a lot of powder in the 30-06. It's a standard hunting cartridge. It's made to not just hit a game, but to knock them down. Do you get it? It has enough force to knock the animal down after it's hit. When you see the blood squirting out of the side of his head, you ask 3 questions. If you're a ballistics person, 1, why was the blood going that way? That's a possibility. But if he was shot from where they say he was at that angle with the 30-06, and it's horrible to even talk about it, and it hit him here, it would have knocked him back off the chair. Something's wrong. And that's why people are responding to that YouTube. Hey, something is wrong with the FBI. With all due respect to Kash Patel, something's wrong with the whole story. It doesn't add up. The limping with the bullet, with the casing, with the running. Then they found him. They didn't find him. Then he comes from a Republican family. Then he's a member of an alt-right group. Too many pieces don't match the puzzle. It's like you get all these pieces in a box. And then you say, okay, now put it together into a picture. They just don't fit. They just don't fit. They just don't fit you can't make a picture out of the puzzle pieces. Okay, someone says it hit his vest. It hit his vest and went up to his neck. I'm saying it's possible. Then why are so many people talking about it as someone else having done that there was more than one shooter, or that there was a different shooter, excuse me. It hit the chest with level 2 body armor and the slug exited his neck. It's possible. Okay. Of course, the two men with the baseball signs before that we've all seen. What the hell was that? You've seen it now on the internet. What was that? I don't even know what the hell that means. I looked it up on the internet. One said, that's the target, and the other one said, go. I saw that. Someone told me what sniper signals are. So I don't know whether to believe it. I'm not a sniper. I'm just a regular guy who was on a high school rifle team. And we shot, I think, Ruger Mini. I don't know what the hell we shot. Mausers in the basement. I can still smell the gunpowder. Imagine that being a rifle team in Jamaica High School, Queens, New York, in the 1950s. It's hard to believe that they had rifle teams and no one shot anybody. Isn't that weird? Wasn't the guns, because we had guns and we didn't shoot anybody. It's the drugs, moron, and the lack of a moral compass, idiot. That's who's doing the shooting, moron. Not the guns, Charlie Schumer, you putz. You couldn't even get a job in Katz's Delicatessen when they throw you out of. When they replace Charles Schumer with some radical communist, Muslim, lesbian with one nose ring in her ear, when he's replaced by her, Charlie will try to get a job as a guy who cuts corned beef in Katz's. They won't even hire him. So, yeah, I was on the rifle team. I don't mean to be comedic in the political arena, but it's my relief when I do these things. So here's the picture of me in the rifle team. Jamaica High School Championship rifle team before kids went crazy on medication. And there I am. Poor brother Jerome. May he rest in peace. I can't show it to you. There, it's here somewhere. It's in the book. How do you even turn? There. Rifle team. Okay, got it. Now we're honing in. There's Mike. Mike's on the rifle team. There I am. See me? Back row with the arrow pointing to Mike. There I am, handsome devil that I was. So we were on the rifle team, and it's interesting. They had a very strict test to get on that rifle team. Very, very strict test. You sat down with the rifle team coach, who was a Korean War veteran. He looked you in the eye. And if he didn't like you, he said, get the hell out of here. You're not on the team. He didn't go to an exam. He didn't use a stethoscope. He didn't use a neurological examination. He just looked you in the eye and he talked to you. And if he thought you were a bug job, you didn't get the gun. Get the hell out. He would say to you, sorry, you didn't make it. If you raised the voice to him, they'd slap you in the face and throw you out of school. So I'm on the rifle team. I loved it because during the classes, whatever the period in the day was, we go and let off some steam. And there's nothing like the smell of gunpowder in the afternoon. You don't need coffee. There's nothing like the smell of the afternoon to wake you up. And the sound, wow, that was good. I don't even think we wore ear things. I don't think they had them in the 50s. They figured if you're teaching the kids how to shoot guns in high school, eventually they're going to be used for war. They may as well get used to the sound of a gun so they don't crap their pants when the gun goes off. So I don't think we had earphones. I don't remember, honest to God. We smelled the gunpowder and we heard the shot. And we knew a gun was made for one thing, which is killing. Not a fun thing. It was not a toy. Guns are made for one thing only. Never confuse it with anything else. Guns are made for one thing only, killing. That's all they're made for. And we were taught to use them with great respect. Nobody shot themselves, and nobody shot anyone in the hallway. Nobody took SSRIs. There were no drugs. There were no medications in kids those days. Nobody was on anything. Maybe a nasal spray for sinuses. I don't know. The SSRIs have produced tremendous numbers of suicides and homicides. Tremendous. We've heard all about the opioids. I wrote books about this years ago, back in the 80s, warning you not to use these drugs on your children. And I'm glad that I could be with you for all these years. I don't know, God, I'm saying to God, thank you. I have to thank God in the middle of all of this. I don't have to put this on as a performance. I mean, I am here as a worship. I am here on a Saturday morning as a word to God that He's given me the brains and the ability to be here at this time for you after all these years and after all the stumbles, all the falls, all the slings, and all the arrows. Okay, I'm going to end now. If you like what you see and you see what you like, subscribe. I do want subscribers to hit 100,000 on YouTube. I need to clear 100,000 on YouTube. I need you to do it right now. Right now. Subscribe. It costs nothing. Oh, you're doing it for money. No, I don't make a nickel on any of this. I have nothing against making money. I think making money is very noble if it's done honestly. I think it's beautiful. But I don't do this for the money because I don't make anything from this. I do it strictly for the exercise of the truth, which has set me free. It's why I can still breathe. It's why I'm still 6 feet up, not 6 feet down. Because the truth is the most liberating force on the planet, which is why the left has tried and is succeeding in silencing you. They silence you, they can jail you, as they did to the J6 people. Get me started on another tangent now. Trump could do to them what he did to the what Biden did to the J6 people. He could take them all in and jail them all for inciting violence in this country. Oh, yeah, he could. HUAC, don't tell me about Marvin and the Second and Fourth Amendment, or the Fourth Amendment. I'll take that Fourth Amendment, Marvin, and shove it up your prat, you lying bastard. You don't believe in the Fourth Amendment, Marvin, from the ACLU. You don't believe in any of the amendments but your own power, you sick, disgusting bastards, you. Sorry, I'm going to end now because I just got vulgar. Remember, we go back to the title and the solution, because I'm a solution maker. Savage Solutions. Title of today's particular broadcast is It's a One-Way Civil War and the Right is Being Hunted. That's the title. The solution: bring back HUAC, House of Un-American Activities Committee, and bust the ACLU under RICO. Make them spend their hundreds of millions of dollars defending themselves in court. Get every lawyer in the ACLU under a federal charge and make them spend their money defending themselves instead of destroying America. And that, my friends, is the savage solution. Let us not forget what they just did to one of the leaders of the youth in this country, who was not just a conservative leader, but a religious leader. Charlie Kirk was more like a evangelical preacher. I watched him, the clips of him last night, and he was an evangelical. He was an evangelical leader, and that's why he could have been a president. I watched this guy. He had not only charisma and the ability to argue without getting angry, he never lost his temper. He argued with trans people and told them, please don't. He said, I accept who you are. He said, but why don't identify solely as your sexuality? Great line. Because a lot of people in brainwashed think that we are our sexuality. He said, that's a part of you, but there's a whole of you. It was beautiful. And actually, I saw one of the kids almost cry when he said that to them at a rally. No one had ever said that to them because they've been brainwashed by Bernie Sanders and the American Civil Liberties Union into believing that if it feels good, do it. So your sexuality, tell them, is your whole identity. No, it isn't. It's a part of your identity, not the only part of your identity. There's a bigger part of you, a whole you, Charlie said to them. And I say to you, and I say to you as I go, Hitler had the Hitler Youth, the Russian communists had the Young Pioneers, Pol Pot had the Red Scarves or the Khmer Rouge, and the German communists had the Red Brigades, and now in America we see the rainbow red-green brigades, and they're everywhere you turn. Donald Trump, if you hear me now, even this tail end, bring back HUAC. Bring back the House of Un-American Activities Committee. And you put these rats under a spotlight in front of the world to see who they are and where these rats get their money. And suddenly we will have a new, clean America in which our children can grow up in safely. Thank you for listening. I don't know how to close. I don't know what to say at this point other than God bless America and keep Donald Trump safe. He's all we got right now. As flawed as he is the only one fighting the good fight on an international scale. As flawed as he is, we're all flawed. We're humans. We're not God. God is flawless, man is not. So you can't say, well, his flaws define him. No, they don't define him. He's defined by his overall good work. Think about that one.